Welcome back to the Many Toys Of, the show which we go over the action figure history of various Transformers characters. In this episode, we're talking about a split legacy. Usually, a Transformers character is defined by one major iteration of them. And yet, for Red Alert, there's quite a few characters that come to mind with that name. Before we begin, a big thank you to Chris Soka, Sound Blaster 1987 Reviews, Suck My Croc 3388, Radal, Rain Craven, Sacrified, Mindy Ransom 1908, Nathdim 11, C. Bennett 3228, Symphotronic, Ryan Wilson Derogatory, Volnik 67, Bifrog with Rad Hat, The Bulbasaur Guy 5563, Hugh, oh my god, it's Prime Gaming. And finally, a big thank you to TF, Autobot, Red Alert, who have all been suggesting Red Alert for the show for many months now. As I said, Red Alert has two major branches that all split off the family tree. But going to the original Red Alert, he was introduced in 1985 in Season 2 of the G1 cartoon. Here, he was the security director of the Autobots. He's the one who manned the defenses and ensured the Autobots were prepared for any type of attack. He was also the one who would make the decision as to what Autobots were best equipped to go on which missions, which is the reason as to why Optimus Prime very rarely left Earth in Season 2. Red Alert would often stand in the way of that. That means that he took some of Jazz's responsibility away, now being the one to decide who would be best utilized. In the G1 cartoon, he was always a touch high-strung. He considered the worst-case scenario and planned around that. However, most people assume that G1 Red Alert was a manic, paranoid Autobot, when in truth, he was only that in Auto Berserk. After being damaged and having some serious issues with his logic circuits, he became truly unhinged, unable to discern what was a potential danger and what was something that was entirely made up by himself. That is the only episode in which he was that level of insecure. However, because it was his only spotlight episode, many people tend to just remember that as being his basic personality. In truth, Red Alert is a lot more logical. He's not exactly laid back, but he's not chomping at the bit to scream at everything that moves. All he is aware of the circumstances the Autobots find themselves in, and he does his best to help navigate the waters. Since most of the Autobots are so optimistic and hopeful, it's actually good to have at least one character who does consider the implications and the ramifications of a mistake. Red Alert helped balance out the Autobots, which is why he so quickly became one of the inner circle for Optimus Prime.
Those guys could use a hand up there! Stay here, Inferno!
Red Alert's toy came out in 1985, and it is a repaint of G1 Sideswipe. This is one of my favorite G1 toys. The Sideswipe mold has such a fun transformation and a great looking robot mode, and Red Alert's colors are so slick. That said, let's talk about the goofiness. This is a Countach that's supposed to be a fire chief's car. I don't know about you, there's not many fire chiefs that roll around in Lamborghinis, but it is a good-looking car, ain't it? Sometimes you gotta throw real-world logic out the window. It's a cool car, let's roll with it, it looks great with Inferno, and that's all it needed to do. You also have the missile launcher, which gives you some playability. There's not a lot of articulation on the go, and overall Red Alert is a more, let's say, basic package for a G1 Autobot car, but in terms of just standing there and looking pretty, he was pretty great at that job. Popping over to Takara Tomy Markets, you'd be able to get the Transformers Gum Alert. This is basically a smaller model kit made in the style of the G1 Red Alert toy. 1 year later, in 1986, you'd be able to get a tiny decoy of Red Alert in the Cybertron Hero Collection 22. In 1987, the decoy Red Alert would be released in Hasbro markets. He'd be packed alongside the Throttlebots, the Aerialbots, the Protectobots, and the Technobots. Red Alert completely skipped over the Beast era. only showing back up in 2001 as a reissue in Takara's Collector's Edition series. In 2002, there would be yet another reissue of Red Alert. On eHobby Shop, you'd be able to get Lambor and Alert, that is to say Sideswipe and Red Alert respectively, reissued in a 2-pack as a New Year special. Now let's talk about this. To this point, Red Alert is just in the mix. Another G1 Transformer. And in the 2000s, when we were starting to have a little bit of nostalgia baiting for the first time, Red Alert was getting some good releases. Mostly on the back that if you did Red Alert, you could also do Sideswipe very easily. But, like so many G1 characters, Red Alert was at risk of being left to the dustbin of history. No other major appearances? That's until we get to Transformers Armada. In Armada, the initial 3 Autobots on Earth were Optimus Prime, Hotshot, and Red Alert. Even though Red Alert was just the medic of the team, he effectively also became second in command. Even when Jetfire, the real second in command of the Autobots, showed up, Red Alert continued to be the more stoic, somber viewpoint. If Jetfire was calling the shots on the battlefield, Red Alert was the secondary leader in civilian life. He was the one who took care of the base, acted as the man in the chair, kept all the equipment together, was the one who could calm everyone down when things began to panic. In many ways, Red Alert was now taking on personality traits from Ratchet, Prowl, and even a little bit of Jazz. He became one of the richest characters in all of Armada due to how many hats he could wear. He could be the emotional core of the team. He could be the somber viewpoint. He could be the scientific expert. He could be the kindly doctor. He could even be the old veteran who knew how to bust heads. The fact that he had an initial rivalry with Starscream only added to the cool factor. You have this character who is based not only on Super Sentai designs, but also RoboCop, who transforms into an SUV and is able to hang with the best of them. This Red Alert very quickly became a fan favorite, and to many people, myself included, this is what the name Red Alert belongs to. Not the G1 Countach, but this Armada badass.
I think I've pinpointed the glitch, sir. Good work, Red Alert. What was the problem with the CPU?
Armada Red Alert's first toy came out in 2002, and for the first wave of Armada, it is incredibly solid. A massive MaxCon, which is the equivalent to the Voyager class today, with surprisingly good articulation for the day. You have ball joints, universals, hinges. He has a full suite of articulation points, and yet he still has a gimmick with his Minicon, allowing him to make use of a hidden blaster. In terms of his overall design and proportions, he's so striking. I can't think of many Autobots who look like Red Alert. Again, the fact that the Takara Tomy team was looking at Super Sentai, and the American team was looking at RoboCop, led to a character who almost feels alien to Transformers. He's almost too slick. He looks like he belongs to some other franchise, and yet the fact that he's in Transformers, he comes off so much more lush, so much more fully realized, especially compared to some of the more blocky Armada boys. The transformation's a ton of fun, and it gives you a great looking SUV. Overall, Red Alert was easily one of the standouts of the initial wave of Armada, and till the end of the line was still arguably the best figure within it. And let's not forget the most iconic thing about him, his voice line.
Red Alert!
I love this Red Alert. It is over 20 years old now, but God is it still a good toy. To bring an incredibly important year to a close, you could have gone the McDonald's Red Alert Happy Meal, and for a Happy Meal Transformer, he looks pretty solid. Red Alert would blow the doors off 2003, getting more toys in this year than he had in the entire collective toy history up until that point. Starting off simple, you could have gone Red Alert in the commemorative series, just another reissue of G1 Red Alert, but this time in Hasbro markets. You could have gone the Universe Optimus Prime and Prowl basic multi-pack, with Prowl being painted up to look just like G1 Red Alert. There was the My Clone Red Alert, a repaint of the My Clone Sideswipe, still one of the most haunting looking Transformers I've ever seen. In the final episodes of the Armada cartoon, you would have the Unicron battles, and you would be able to see Megatron, Demolishor, Starscream, Hotshot, and Red Alert all get new, more powerful forms as their Power Lynx bodies. And out of all of them, I think Power Lynx Red Alert is the weakest looking one. I don't know what it is, but the yellow, the white, and in robot mode, the hits of red and blue, he just looks a bit too disjointed. There's not a lot of good carryover of color in either form. I hate to say it, I kind of think the Built to Rule Red Alert was better looking when it came to releases this year. It's a decent looking Built to Rule, but the colors help make it look just a bit more poppy, you know? In Takara Tomy markets, you'd be able to get the Super Collection figure of Red Alert. This 3-inch tall PVC figure would have given you the show colors, as well as a pewter version. There was also a Chase variant secret figure of Red Alert in his Cybertron body. This is how he appeared before he scanned in alternate mode in the first 2 episodes of Armada. A very Hot Wheels-alike Red Alert came out in the mini car collection. This came about due to the Japanese company Kabaya teaming up with the French company Marguerite to make these die-cast vehicles. To bring a Titanic year to a close, you could have gotten a small figurine of Red Alert in the Transformers Armada Battle for Cybertron board game. After such a great run in 2003, Red Alert would slow down in the years to come. In 2004, you'd be able to get the smallest transforming Transformers version of him. This 2-inch tall guy is just a repaint of the Sideswipe from the same line. There was also the Micromaster Protectobot Red Alert released in the Universe 2003 line. At the same time, it would be released in the Energon line in European markets. Things would pick up a little bit in 2005, where Red Alert would get into the Binaltech Asterisk line. This Red Alert is a retool of the Blue Streak mold. It helps that Blue Streak and Smokescreen were already some of the best figures in Alternators, so Red Alert has a pretty solid Voyager scale figure at long last. The only issue is, his head doesn't really look like Red Alert. It looks a little bit more like Ratchet. And moreover, the body, even though it's solid, there's not much of Red Alert's energy here. This was definitely a remold first and foremost, but at the very least, Red Alert got a little bit of love, which is more than a lot of the G1 characters were getting at this point. Red Alert would also return to television screens due to his reappearance on Transformers Cybertron. However, he sounded just a touch different. As it turns out, in between Armada and Cybertron, he had taken a long sabbatical on Nebulos. And who would have thought all the headmasters were apparently Aussies this whole time? Because Red Alert's Nebulos accent definitely made him sound a bit, well, different.
Oh no, not junk! I thought this junk was public property!
The Cybertron Red Alert toy is so much fun. The articulation's very limited, even more limited than the Armada guy if you can imagine, but the transformation is so unique, especially with how the front and back of the car fold down to become the legs. You also have his weapon gimmick. His arm can change out for a hammer, a claw, a proper cannon, and then you can store the ones you don't use inside his legs. The overall proportions are solid, the silhouette is striking, even the colors are great. It helps that Red Alert had so many good remolds and repaints. Crankcase, cannonball, cup. This is a beautiful mold, and one of the best that Red Alert would ever have. I'm kinda sad that this version of the guy's been lost to history. People remember the G1, people remember the Armada, and yet the Cybertron body is often overlooked. Within the Cybertron cartoon, Red Alert, Scattershot, and Hotshot were nearly murdered by the Decepticons, and they were brought back online in far more powerful bodies to become the Cybertron Defense team. Red Alert went from a Voyager to an ultra-class missile truck ready to nuke Cybertron if it meant protecting Earth. Look at this thing. It is so wild. I love it. His proportions are almost super heroic. The massive cannon is, let's be honest, ridiculous, but also really cool. And the colors are so nice. It reminds me of animated Ultra Magnus, just the overall aesthetic and energy that this vehicle brings about. And when he transforms, yeah, this is one Red Alert that you're never gonna mess with. Even though there were 2 molds of Red Alert introduced in the same year, Cybertron was so popular as a toy line that there kept being reissues of the Deluxe. You could have gone Deluxe Red Alert in a 2-pack with Dirt Boss. This was an exclusive to Walmart. In Toys R Us, you could have gone Red Alert packed alongside Dirt Boss, Hot Shot, Override, Sideways, or Snarl. Target had an exclusive 2-pack that was Red Alert versus Sideways. And finally, the deluxe version of Red Alert would be the basis for the Burger King Kids Meal Red Alert. This is honestly a really, really good attempt at a Happy Meal Transformer, and puts the McDonald's Armada Red Alert to shame in that regard. After a pretty good run over those last few years, Red Alert would start to slow down for a long while in 2006. He would only get a Legends of Cybertron toy, a shrunk-down version of his Cybertron Defense team body. In 2008, there would be the Universe Red Alert. This is actually a redeco of Cybertron Hotshot, and is trying to invoke G1 Red Alert. There's a whole lot of universes colliding here, and I kinda dig it. Going into 2009, you could have gone the Henkei Red Alert. This is a retool of the Universe Sideswipe, and in all honesty, he looks really nice. I love that they remembered his red head. Unfortunately, there are many Red Alerts to come that are going to go with the toy-accurate black head, and I just don't think that ever looks as good. Red Alert should have that crimson dome, you know? The vehicle mode, of course, looks beautiful because it's the Universe Sideswipe. The transformation's very well done, and the proportions are solid. You have a bit of a wimpy gun, but at the same time, Red Alert is supposed to be a thinker, not a fighter. I can handle that he'd have a tiny pistol with him. 1 year later in 2010, we'd get the Generations Red Alert, and you can see what I was talking about. Even though this is still a really good toy, great transformation, great deco, the black head is so much more drab. It looks like Sideswipe is sick or wearing his house clothes. I want the red head so I can know he's about to have a panic attack. In 2011, the Creon Red Alert would keep the black helmet tradition alive, as he was packed alongside the Creo Bumblebee set, and come on guys, just make the helmet red, it's not that hard! Listen, if I see one more Red Alert with a black helmet, my heart is gonna break. So why don't we pump the brakes right here, right now, and pop over to third party? Unfortunately, there's not been much love for Red Alert in the third-party realm, but there is still a few things to talk about, so why don't we go take a look-see. In terms of masterpiece scale, you could always get the Bad Cube Security Director. This is a very odd Red Alert. Keep in mind, it came out after the official MP, and it was supposed to be more cartoon accurate, but it doesn't really work. His head is tiny, and when you look at it, the details are just uncanny. He doesn't look right. He looks, I don't know, hollow. In terms of the robot mode, it's decent. You definitely have more cartoon-accurate kibble than the proper Masterpiece did, but all that does is serve to make Red Alert look worse. More accurate, sure, but also cartoon-accurate for Red Alert can go too far, and may I humbly submit, this is going too far. You've made a pretty bad-looking masterpiece. Weirdly enough, that's the only masterpiece for Red Alert. Seemingly just because the official MP was so good and came out so early, there hasn't been other companies to try to take a stab at the design yet. There are a few in the works, but those are so far down the line that I don't feel like I should bring them up here, just in case they never materialize. But why don't we pop over to Legend Scale, where we can talk about the Iron Factory take on Red Alert. This guy is very IDW inspired. You can really see it in the head, and I enjoy the proportions they gave him. He looks a little bit stockier, a little bit more powerful, and yet you can still see the nervousness in him. The articulation's incredibly solid, and Iron Factory transformations tend to be a bit finicky, but I'd argue Red Alert is still decent enough. I can't really complain about him one way or another. There's also the Magic Square Flame Patrol. This mini Red Alert is just so much fun. This is probably my favorite when it comes to tiny Red Alerts. Magic Square always makes fun toys, and even though I think the Red Alert is on the finicker side of their transformations, he's still a really solid attempt at the guy. And there you have it, third-party Red Alert. At the end of the day, Red Alert being a repaint to Sideswipe just doesn't have as much demand as Sideswipe. But even Sideswipe doesn't have that much love in third party, seemingly because he was already covered. When third party was mostly focusing on Chug, there was already the Universe Sideswipe. When they moved up to Masterpiece, there was already a good Masterpiece Sideswipe. Similar to Soundwave, if you're trying to just go for straight cartoon accurate designs, there's not much demand because they'd already checked the box. Masterpiece Sideswipe, and by extension Masterpiece Red Alert, were still beloved. And tell you what, why don't we go right back into official waters right here, right now in 2012 to talk about MP12 Lambor as Alert. As Masterpiece 14, this was just a remold of the Sideswipe, but I honestly like it so much more. Sideswipe was just a little bit too dull color-wise for me, whereas Red Alert, he pops, like he always pops. The missile launcher looks better, the gun hangs in the hands better, and the deco looks sharper. I also love that they included his head sparks, that way you can recreate Auto Berserk. The transformation is a ton of fun. This was Shogo Hisui doing home run after home run after home run in Masterpiece. I would argue it is still the high watermark of any high-profile, high-price point Transformers line. Sideswipe was a work of art. Red Alert was just the work of art in a more pleasing colorway. I adore this toy, and I think it is still a perfect Masterpiece Red Alert. Going into 2013, there'd be some Chotskis for Red Alert. He would appear in the Creon figure pack alongside Creons of Bumblebee, Mirage, Jazz, and a random 5th Creon. He would also get a bot shot, but I don't know, there's something about that card that looks really weird to me, something in the hood. There wouldn't be much in 2014. Red Alert would just get a loyal subject, and it looks fine. At least there'd be a little bit of a pickup in 2015. He would appear in the Creon class of 85, a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive that year, and he was perfectly acceptable. Of course, the most important Red Alert to come out in 2015 was the Q Transformers Red Alert! Oh, look at him! Oh, he's so cute! They have his little light bar, and when he transforms, he has the red helmet! Yes! Oh, they remembered the red helmet! They never remember the red helmet, but on the little cute one they did! Yes! Oh, I can't wait for him to start crying in the corner of the party! Oh, little Red Alert! You little weirdo, you go, bud! You go cry and have that panic attack. Look, I know the Q Transformers Red Alert was a masterpiece, but a proper Masterpiece Red Alert would be reissued in 2016 as a Takara Tomy Mall exclusive. This is a repaint of the original Red Alert to make him more cartoon accurate, and I think he still looks good. He's a little bit glossier than before, but overall it's the same great toy, just with different colors. Red Alert would be off for a couple of years before coming back in 2019 in the Siege line. Here, he was a slight retool of Sideswipe, and I think this is such a great mold. I know that the Siege Lambo mold has been used like 30 times at this point, but it always works for me. The transformation is so good. It's just like the Masterpiece, but streamlined, made more simple, and, in my opinion, more fun. Alongside that, the robot mode is incredibly well articulated. Yes, on Sideswipe the proportions look odd, but with a character like, say, Tiger Track or Red Alert, the brighter colors help hide how big the torso is. Alongside that, you have great range of motion in the legs and the arms, and even though Red Alert has a pretty iffy weapon, I'm not big on the pickaxe, just let him use the gun. And eventually, we would get enough uses of this mold that you could also give him the missile launcher back. In 2020, Siege Red Alert would be repainted and put in the Walmart exclusive War for Cybertron Trilogy cartoon toy line. This is just a more battle damaged Red Alert, and in my opinion, it looks a lot worse. Then we get to Kingdom Red Alert, and I love this guy. Coming out in 2021, he is so pretty. I don't have a better word for it, it's just pretty. It's the same great mold, with a more Earth-like vehicle mode, definitely not a Lamborghini, but close enough, and the colors are allowed to pop without being hidden behind any gross battle damage. Red Alert went on a mental health break for a couple of years before coming back in 2024 in the Blockies Galaxy version. This is one of my favorite blockies. The Sideswipe mold was already so good, incredibly well proportioned, and a fun build to boot. But now, in the Red Alert colors, it looks even better. I don't mean to dog on Sideswipe that much. I've been doing it this whole video without meaning to. It's just Sideswipe always has a great mold, but the Red Alert colors always bring out the best in it. That brings us to 2025 and the return of Armada Red Alert. In the Age of the Primes toy line, we got a Red Alert to go alongside our other new Armada offerings, and he is just incredible. A very fun Voyager, who's actually a good bit larger than most other Voyagers on the shelves today. A simple, intuitive transformation that's still satisfying. Joints that click and stay in place. This feels like the Armada toy, just cleaned up a little bit, made more durable, more playable, more with a collector in mind. Yeah, he doesn't have his Minicon, and that would have been great, a true cherry on top. But this Sunday is still just a absolute treat, a delight beyond proper words. I love this Red Alert. The colors, the proportions, the silhouette, the transformation, the playability, the posability. When I first got him, I said I thought he was one of the best Generations toys of 2025. All these months later, I'm going to say this is the best Generation toy of 2025, and in my opinion, it's the best Voyager in Transformers for a very long time. A simple toy done as well as it possibly could be. This is what a masterpiece is made of. And that's it. Red Alert has had such a beautifully unique run as a Transformers character. Usually, a character is defined by who they were in G1, or a new character comes along and it's so good it completely invalidates the old version. Think how Animated Bulkhead completely replaced Energon Bulkhead, or how Prime Knockout completely invalidated G1 Knockout. And yet, G1 Red Alert and Armada Red Alert have been able to coexist fairly happily. Fans like both, want both, appreciate both. I know plenty of people who are completely fine having both Red Alerts in the same series or on the same shelf just because they are so distinct, yet both of them have something unique to bring to the table. G1 Red Alert being the naysayer, the more conscious one, the paranoid one. That's a unique niche for the Autobots, especially when you surround him with so many reckless daredevils and hopeful heroes. As for Armada Red Alert, the fact that he can be both cool and confident, stoic, and yet the emotional center of the team allows him to have such character depth that's kind of unique in Transformers. The only character I can think who's even kinda like that is Beast Wars Rhinox. Both Red Alerts have their own corners, their own jobs that they can fulfill without stepping on the other one's toes. And I think that's what leads to both of them being so beloved. Armada Red Alert was a wonderful recreation. Essentially a new character, but enough similarities to not feel entirely alien. And yet the two of them have had such unique legacies that it's okay to have them together. It's okay for them to coexist. And in fact, I wish they would more often. But guys, I'll ask you, which was your favorite Red Alert? And is there a Red Alert you're trying to track down right now? I'm hoping that next week's episode will be the many toys of Grimlock. But I will say, if you would like to support the show or me, I'm on Patreon now. For $1, you can get access to my Discord server, Moonbase1. For $5, you can watch videos early and see videos directly from me. And finally, for $10, you will be made a producer. You'll show up in every video I make from now on, and you'll be able to make direct Patreon requests. I want to thank everyone so much for watching, and hey, we'll see what we get up to next time.